Alright, before we get started with the review for Doomsday Clock, if you noticed, my videos are going to be both my last two videos on YouTube are also going to be posted on Vlare TV. Now, to all of my YouTube subscribers, those of you who have already joined me on Vlare, thank you so much from the bottom of my heart. That means so much to me. And I also noticed that a lot of you guys made Vlare TV accounts just to keep following me. That meant a lot to me to show that, you guys really do care and have, a lot of you guys have really helped me, and I've already, jumped to almost 40 followers, so hopefully we can keep that going. To any new to any people on Vlare TV, I'm Deadpool. I was once Deadpoolzilla, now I'm Mr. Multiverse, and yeah. And if you're new here, remember to hit that following button, or wherever. I'm still getting used to Vlare, and yeah. So, thank you guys. Bottom of my heart, my YouTube subscribers. So yeah, you're going to see not just these videos on here, but you're also going to see them on YouTube up until the last few, up until the end of the year. Then it's full-on Vlare. But anyway, so if you're to my YouTube subscribers who still have not already, click the link below, because a lot of people thought that I was just leaving for good. Click the link below in the description box to my other channel on Vlare TV. I don't know why I have to keep saying this, but so many said, "Oh, I guess you're just leaving for good." No, how many times did I say in the previous video that I'm going to another channel? I'm leaving YouTube. I'm not leaving the whole fucking thing. Anyway. So, having said all that, let's talk about Doomsday Clock. Now, I'm mostly going to be talking about the ending and Doomsday Clock on a whole. I don't know, I'll give a full review when I read the whole comic in entirety, because let's be honest, guys, it took almost 2 years for this comic to be done. And yeah, it kind of became a running joke of, oh, hey, when is Doomsday Clock going to be done? Oh, never? Oh, well. That's the thing. But as a animated old man once said in Toy Story 2, you can't rush art. Now, we can debate until the cows come home if this is the vision that Alan Moore wanted, a true happy ending for Watchmen. I would say no, because I know Alan Moore. Because I know Alan Moore probably wouldn't want that. The cynical old wizard probably wouldn't want that. But I think this is I think it's ambitious. I think this whole endeavor to bring Watchmen into the DC universe was nothing short of ambitious. And you gotta give it to Jeff Johns and Gary Frank for doing this, and also being, I wouldn't say consistent. I was about to say consistent, but I think that the fact that they took on this idea and did this comic, something that we've all kind of oh, wouldn't it be funny if, if the Watchmen universe ran into the DC universe? That's something we can, we can talk about for ages. But, the fact that you did it, critics be damned, hats off to Jeff Johns. And the fact that he was clearly trying his best to fulfill Moore's image of what Watchmen and the storyline of it, it says something. Now, did he hit the mark? I would say in some points no, but I think at the end of it, this was more about damage control for what happened in the New 52. And that's what you really have to look at this comic for on a whole, in my opinion, is that this is more damage control than it is a storyline. I mean, the storyline is good, don't get me wrong, but it's more of a, damage control. And I will say it's damage control done right, as opposed to Rise of Skywalker, which was just there to undercut everything that Last Jedi set up and everything else, and just kind of shit-canning everything in there. In here, it's yeah, Watchmen is important, we're going to do that story, but it's also going to help us fix what we did wrong in New 52. And I think that's a good idea. I think it was smart because I think that was an interesting way of looking at it, because, yeah, the Watchmen universe is so cynical, and the New 52 became so cynical and, unabashedly like Watchmen that it was kind of, needed for this. So Doomsday Clock, while it does have its delays, does fully integrate Rebirth, and this really does work as a Superman story as much as it does for Dr. Manhattan. Because I think it's not so much that the fight was, was going to be inevitable between Superman and Dr. Manhattan. but I think it's more of the ideals. Despite everything, despite Dr. Manhattan being the one who created the New 52 universe, destroying everything, taking away Clark's parents, Clark still saved him. Clark still protected him from Black Adam and his cadre of supervillains. He still did all that, and Manhattan was like, that doesn't make sense. You don't make sense. And that's what I like. As a Superman fan, I knew that Jeff Johns was going to knock it out of the park with all the Superman stuff, because it's very clear he's one of the writers who seem to get Superman, as opposed to the current writer, Bendis. But I really do like how this storyline really shows the importance of Superman, and not just that, but like just the hope he brings, the hope and that kind of need to be like, yeah, you can be cynical and all that, but at the same time, you know, there's a time to be a little distrustful, there's a time for all that, and time to distrust people at times, but at the same time, you need that hope and faith in others. And yeah, Jeff Johns really makes the good case of why Superman is important to not just DC Comics, but comics in general, and why he's kind of, why he's been a icon all these ages. Now, I will say that there were some hiccups throughout the series. I dug the idea of metaverse, but I don't know if we're ever going to use that, the whole metaverse thing again. I was also not a fan of bringing back the comedian. One thing before Doomsday Clock ever became a thing was that I was open to the idea, but I didn't want them to damage anything that, or retcon anything that Watchmen had done. Bringing back the comedian, I was like, oh, that just undercuts the whole story of Watchmen, I feel like. Now, I will say, I like the idea of I'm glad they didn't bring back Walter Kovacs and instead made a new Rorschach, which I'm happy for. I didn't want them to undercut everything from Watchmen. I'm still not okay with the whole resurrecting comedian because we didn't need that. Marriott and Mime are a cool pair. I like those characters, and hopefully, we can see them. I would like to see Marionette and Mime in some capacity, maybe a DC Universe version of them, or something of that capacity. I also enjoyed Manhattan kind of opening up and raising their child and naming him Clark to be the new protector of the Watchmen universe. I thought that was very kind. I thought that was very cool. But I will say that, again, I do feel like there's also some messages in this comic that were just a little too on the nose. I feel like Jeff Johns was like, do you get it? Do you get it? Do you get it? In Watchmen, it's subtle. I mean, it's loud enough where you can understand it, but it's subtle enough to be like, okay, moving on. Jeff Johns, I feel like in Doomsday Clock was like, do you get it? Come on, do you get it? Do you get it? Yeah. Also, hats off to Gary Frank, because this is some of his best artwork. I will say, yeah, I'm starting to see why this comic took so long, art-wise, because, Jesus, Gary, you knocked it out of the park. Because I've always loved Gary Frank's artwork. Here, he for some reason, it just fits so well with the tone of all that. With the tone of this comic, and when it's paired with Jeff Johns' writing, nice. Yeah. While I will say that this comic is not perfect, and there are some points where I just felt like, And I probably will go into a more detailed review at some point in the future, but as it stands, I liked it. It's a better ending than what we got in a certain movie franchise recently. But I will say that this was a good ending, and as a Superman fan, and as a DC Universe fan, this was very much a comic that was needed. I feel like this is a comic that was needed for this time, and, it's interesting that this closes the book on, Doomsday Clock closes the book and, explains why, finally, we understand now how the JSA are in the Justice League comics by Scott Snyder. It explains all that, and it's fun. It's very much a love letter to the DC universe. And, you can't fault Jeff Johns for being the DC fanboy that he is. You really can't. Like I said, comic is not perfect, but it is serviceable. And again, we can make the debate that is this the proper sequel and finale to Watchmen? Difficult to say. But as a comic that works as a DC Universe comic, I'm all for it. So anyway, so you guys tell me in the comments below, what did you guys think of Doomsday Clock? Did you guys like it, hate it? Comment below, let me know, and once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later.